to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I'm Peter. I'm an M&HS student here at Monash, and today I'm chatting to some of our medicine and biomedical science students to find a little more about their degrees and what it's like to study at Monash University. With us today, we have Julie, who is studying a Bachelor of Medical Science and Doctor of Medicine via direct entry, Evan, who is undertaking a Bachelor of Medical Science and Doctor of Medicine via graduate entry, and Reet, who is completing a Bachelor of Medical Science, Biomedical Science. I'll now invite each of our students to please introduce yourselves to give us an overview of your degree and study experience here at Monash. Julie, could we please start with you?
Yep. Hi, my name is Julie. I'm currently a fourth year, completing the 5-year undergraduate degree in medicine at Monash. I chose the degree initially because I knew that I wanted to do medicine straight out of high school, and I also wanted to stay close to home. With Monash, I really like how they've structured the course. So it's 2 years preclinical and 3 years clinical. So in the 2 years, we get a really good foundation at the Clayton campus to learn about anatomy, so being hands-on and learning about the different organ systems, as well as having tutorials like PBLs, which are problem-based learning tutorials where we use all the knowledge that we learn throughout the week, so physiology, anatomy, looking for signs and symptoms, tests to do, as well as treatment, and use it all within a patient case. So that's what I really like about the degree. In terms of stuff outside of uni, I've done a few extracurricular activities. So there's a couple of clubs at Monash that I've joined. Currently, I'm the chair of TOP, which is a global health education club where we run events to, to hold events for students, teaching them about topics that we don't classically get during tutorials. So recently we had an event called Climate Change, a Global Health Emergency, where we had really exciting speakers come speak with us. I've also had time to get involved with activities outside of uni as well, including being a leader at my local church. I'm currently in my 4th year, so I've had this is my 2nd year of clinical placement. Personally, I found placements a lot better than the first 2 years of preclinical, just because you get to be at the hospital, you get to learn and see what doctors do every day, and you get to talk to patients and actually be able to learn from them as well. And you get to finally use all those skills that you learned during your foundation years and apply it into real life. Initially, though, I found it quite challenging because during your first 2 years, you get really used to being around your friends, being around the beautiful Clayton campus, and just studying in the libraries and just chilling out a lot of the time. And having to shift from that to being surrounded, and trying to adapt to a fast-paced, unfamiliar environment in a hospital, I unfortunately found it a bit hard to kind of adapt to it at the start. But, after a few weeks, I've kind of debriefed with a lot of my friends, realized they were also going through the same things as well. And we were able to support and encourage each other through that time, and also make a couple of really good new friends at the hospitals as well. So yeah, I've honestly found placement to be really enjoyable and the whole degree to be enjoyable so far. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Julie. Now let's hear from Evan.
Hey everyone, so how's it going? My name's Evan. So I'm studying the graduate entry medicine pathway at Monash. I suppose the reason I chose the degree was I really liked its focus on rural health, which is something that I'm quite passionate about. Also, I did my undergraduate degree at Monash as well, so I was quite familiar with all the procedures and the systems at Monash. So I was quite comfortable staying with Monash, and it was really a big plus as well. With the graduate entry stream, you do 1 year in Churchill, so it's moving to Gippsland, which is a beautiful part of the world. So you do get to kind of get away from the Clayton campus, be surrounded by a really small group of friends. So we had 70 people in our cohort. So we really got to know them well. And if you're interested in studying somewhere where you know your teachers by their first names and vice versa, it's definitely a great place to be because it's quite supportive. In terms of what I love about the degree, I actually have enjoyed most, in 3rd year coming together with the undergraduate students. it's really great to have different kind of perspectives and life experiences all meld together. So myself and Julie actually met last year when we were placed at the Alfred. And became friends while we were there. But it was really nice, just hearing about different life experiences and both kind of parties learning from each other. That was really nice. In terms of extracurricular activities as well, so myself and Julie work together in talk. So Julie's actually my boss, and that's been really great as well. Seeing everyone work together and learning from each other has been fantastic. And seeing different perspectives from all the speakers we've had. And I'm also involved in the mental health team with AMSA. So AMSA is the Medical Student Association of Australia. So we kind of put together infographics and material for other medical students in Australia to do with mental health. In terms of placements, again, that's a great plus of the Monash model. So we spend, in graduate entry, we spend 1 year in Churchill doing all our practical and kind of textbook learning materials. And that takes place for a year. But in graduate entry, we also do 1 day of placement a week, which is a great plus. So you do get to start off in hospitals. And then starting in our second year, we go from being year 1 students straight to year 3. So we skip the year 2, and that's because we've got the background in the biomedical sciences. And then, we start our placement, which is great. So, last year I was in the Alfred with Julia, like I said, fantastic experience. So every 6 to 8 weeks, we would change rotations. Now in 4th year, we have 4 major disciplines: children's health, women's health, mental health, and general practice. And so we've been changing. In terms of challenges I've faced, I'm exactly the same as Julie. So starting off in the hospital was very difficult. Going from having 5 to 6 hours of lectures a day to 10 hours of hospital placement was hard. But speaking to other people, it was really good to see that they were going through the same thing. This year as well, COVID's been extremely difficult, but it's been really good to see faculty and students step up. I've actually had the most positive experience with other students, making study groups and things like that over Zoom, and everyone really checking in each other. We're actually a really close cohort, even though there's about 400 of us. So yeah, it's been great. That's it from me.
Thanks, Evan. Now let's hear from Reed.
Hey everyone. So like Peter said, my name is Reed and I'm in my second year of Bachelor of Biomedical Science at Monash. I chose to study biomed at Monash mainly because of the proximity to sort of cutting edge research in biomedical sciences. So the Biomedicine Discovery Institute, which is Monash's main sort of research institute in the biomedical sciences, is right on campus, and a lot of our lecturers and professors come from the institute. And I found it really exciting to be this close and to have a sort of personal view into the career that I want to pursue. I picked biomedical science because, I've known that I wanted to go into research, biological research, and I knew equally well that I didn't want to do medicine. And what I love about my degree is the sort of varied range of exposures we get to different subjects and different specializations. So throughout my degree, I'm going to be studying anatomy and physiology, immunology, molecular biology, public health. And I think that gives us a really strong foundation for whatever career or further studies we choose to pursue after. And I really like the fact that even in a single unit, we get lecturers and professors from their respective areas of expertise. So, 1 week you're being lectured by someone who is a virologist, the other you're being lectured by someone who works in industry. And I think seeing that sort of passion and excitement in our lecturers definitely makes the degree more exciting. In terms of extracurriculars, I was involved with the Monash International Affairs Society. So I was part of the Model United Nations they run, because I really enjoy the sort of policy making aspect of health as well. I'm also involved with the Monash Uni Student Theatre, which is an extremely fun environment. And, it's a complete stress buster and really allows me as a biomed student to sort of expand my horizons. I'm also involved with a few other clubs and things on Clayton campus. And I think that's what's really great about Monash is that they really care about the student experience and make sure we get a holistic and well-rounded university experience that we can look back on with fond memories. Biomed is definitely a challenging degree. It's a competitive, difficult degree, and a lot of students are sort of working towards the same goal. But I think that there's still a really great sense of community. You won't, it's very rare that you'll find people sort of tearing each other down and things like that. Our professors and lecturers treat us as, colleagues and peers instead of just as students that they have to teach. And even within the cohort, I've made some lifelong friends. In terms of placements, we obviously don't have placements the way med students do, but we do have a lot of opportunities to engage in what our future careers might look like. So Biomed has an industry placement unit where you actually get to work for about 30 days with an industry partner and see what that's like. We also have research and action units that students can pursue in third year, where you spend a semester in a lab completing a short research project. And the I think that the opportunities that we get to experience what life after Monash might be like is what's really exciting about studying biomed at Monash.
Yeah, that's really fantastic to hear it. So thank you to everyone for those introductions and that insight into what it's like studying at Monash. We'll now move on to a Q&A session. Now, Julie, if we could start with you. A lot of students want to become doctors, but not many get in. What do you think makes someone a good doctor? What's important for someone to consider when choosing this career?
Yeah, thanks so much for the question, Peter. I think one thing that's a really good quality in a good doctor is someone who's passionate about what they're doing. With any career, it's really difficult to continue doing it day in and day out and continue studying for years if you don't have a passion for it. Other things that personally I value and what makes a good doctor are things such as being knowledgeable, so studying and continuing to study for the rest of your life, because medicine isn't static, as well as being empathetic, because ultimately it's great having all that knowledge, but you have to be able to apply it and truly be able to help the patients in front of you to be a good doctor. Yeah, I think those are the three main things that would make a good doctor, and things that you should consider when choosing this degree.
Yeah, definitely important things to consider. So to Evan now. So we have a question: what if I can't get into medicine? Even through the graduate entry, I'm still really passionate about helping people. Did you consider any other career options?
Yeah, so I suppose that's a great thing about the field of kind of health sciences. Medicine is just one of the people in a multifaceted team that works in health. So you've also got your allied health, so whether that be physiotherapy or occupational therapy or speech pathology, there's audiometry, and then we've got the other kind of end, which is your biomedical science research as well. So there are a number of ways that you can contribute to the field, and I think that's one of the great things about health sciences in general. We're all kind of working towards the same thing, which is the improvement, I suppose, of our patients and improvements of models of care. And so, at the end of the day, medicine is very competitive. There are also a number of other things that you can do. Like, for example, with me, I did biomedicine, and I knew that if I didn't get into medicine, I would have definitely gone on to do an honours year, and then given that a go. And then I would have used that year to judge whether research was for me or whether I would have gone on then to do a master's in something else, so like physio or something like that. So there are a number of different things that you can do as well. And it's good to have a backup plan, I think.
Yeah, of course. So I think that leads on to our next question quite well about research. So to Reet, what does biomedical science research involve? And especially as a career, what can you kind of expect in a research job?
I like to think of biomedical research as the sort of backroom information that fuels medicine. Doctors don't know how to treat patients and diseases out of nowhere. The information has to keep coming. And like Julie said, medicine is not static. And I think biomedical research is one of the big reasons that that's allowed us to make such medical advancements. A research career is definitely not an easy thing to take on a whim. I think it requires great perseverance, willingness to sort of pick yourself back up after you fail. like if you talk to any professor, that's the first thing they'll tell you about their career, is that it's not an easy, straightforward path where you're finding things out left and right. But I also think it's a very rewarding career, because all the research you do is going on to help people and making the world a little bit better than you found it. And I think that's what attracts me most about research, is that you don't have to be a doctor to help people, and you don't have to sort of be right at the front, even though, of course, those are noble professions. I think that being able to learn for yourself and being able to improve medical knowledge for the world is a very rewarding and exciting career.
Definitely a very rewarding career. Now to Julie. What do you actually study in medicine? For example, will I be studying physics and maths in medicine, or is it looking at other areas?
Yep. So in medicine, just generally, we study and learn about the human body, the diseases that affect it, as well as legal, ethical, and social issues that affect our health and our health system. So in our first year, you learn about biochemistry and all the cellular processes that occur in your body, as well as start learning about different parts of your body, so your limbs as well as your heart. So in learning about your heart, for example, you learn about all the different conditions that can affect it. And for each condition, you learn about, how it presents, what kind of tests you can do, as well as how you can treat it, and things such as why the disease happens. So you won't be studying pure physics and pure maths in medicine, unfortunately, but there are definitely certain parts where you can use your physics or maths knowledge in a way that affects and apply it towards, what kind of processes that happen in your body.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, super helpful. To Evan, I'm worried about not getting into direct entry. What are some positives that you found of the graduate entry pathway?
Yeah, so with me, unfortunately, I wasn't as sure as Julie when I came out of year 12. I actually went to uni, first of all the way back in 2010, finished a degree, and then decided kind of that university wasn't really for me. So I went and worked for a while. And then it was during that time that I decided that medicine was for me. So I went back to study biomedicine. And so for me, the great thing about the graduate entry program was being able to do a degree, like I said, still be amalgamated with the direct entry students, but also get to bring in my own life experience. So obviously, if I had gone into medicine at the age of 18, I would have approached it very differently to how I would as a 27-year-old. So that's been one thing, but it's also meant that for me, again, I wouldn't have had the motivation when I was 18 to be able to study medicine. I think I needed that life experience to come back and have that drive or that thirst, I suppose, for knowledge. So that's definitely one thing. Of course, everyone matures differently. Me just a lot later than others. One of the positives as well, I guess, of the graduate entry program is that it really factors in the knowledge that you've learned in your undergraduate degree. So we kind of learn a lot differently to the direct entry students. So with direct entry, it's a lot more lectures and a lot more didactic teaching and then group learning. We go by the flipped classroom model. So that 1 year in Churchill, really, it's all about students teaching students, and then we're facilitated by lecturers. So they do expect that, in your 3-year undergraduate degree that you've developed the skills necessary to then take and further your own learning. And then as well, it was a benefit as well to skip year 2A. That didn't sound too fun. So yeah, really just doing one accelerated year, I suppose. It's a very difficult year because you do need to learn, your entire set of anatomy in 1 year instead of 2. But it's also a rewarding year, like I said. Like there were so many times when, we kind of live in a really close vicinity, all of us. So really, you pop over to your neighbor's house, nearly every day. There are games nights, fantastic parties on the weekend. And it's really like, I would akin it actually to like an American college community because everyone lives kind of in the same area. There's 70 people within a walking distance, and there's always something to do. And of course, being in the country, you have so many nice road trips that you can take with friends as well. And then whenever you want to come back to Melbourne, it's only a 1.5 hour drive. So there's definitely a lot of positives, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And a very interesting pathway, Evan.
Yeah.
So to read now, what kind of opportunities are there to connect with the industry and to gain a work experience? I think you mentioned that placement unit.
Yes.
Do you have any other pathways?
Definitely. I think the placement unit is the sort of degree specific official sort of way to connect with industry, but I think there's a lot of other things as well. We often have industry nights hosted by the Biomed Society and by Monash in general, where you get to sort of meet leaders in the industry, see what they expect of graduates, and see whether that's something for you. A lot of our professors and lecturers are also sort of involved with industry or have been at some point in their careers. So I think that also gives it a great sort of perspective. And like I said, Melbourne is, the center of a great biomedical research precinct. And there's so many great Melbourne-based startups and industries that are connected with Monash that I think it's just a matter of how many opportunities you're able to grasp. And I definitely think that if you want to, there's always information and exposure available.
Yeah, thanks, Reet. Yeah, definitely important to make use of every single opportunity you can get. Now, Julie, I think earlier on you mentioned that you've been able to be involved in a few other things outside of medicine, so maintaining that good work, study, and life balance. How have you managed to be able to do this?
Yeah, so having that work, study, life balance, I guess it really depends on you. It can be as balanced or as skewed as you like. So if you do really, value that life outside of medicine, being able to, work, for example, to have friends, to catch up with them, as well as to, have your other hobbies, you can definitely achieve it. It just comes down to a simple matter of managing your time wisely. So, trying to take advantage of the little study times here and there, as well as scheduling. And that really helps for me, for example. As I mentioned, I've done a lot of extracurricular activities. I also at one point had a part-time job. So, juggling all that, it's definitely manageable. It's just really comes down to time management.
That's good to hear. Now, Evan, what have you found as the most exciting or rewarding thing about studying medicine so far?
For me, really, it's a combination of the friendships you make, but also being involved as a part of the treating team. So the way that we're placed is we're placed in an active team. So that involves, a consultant, a registrar, an intern, and then us. It's been really good to have that, teaching opportunity as well. These are people that have been, on the front line that practice medicine day in, day out. And, being able to have one-on-one kind of tutorials from them is fantastic. But also just being able to be involved in patient care is really good, and seeing that, everything that you do makes a difference. Every minute that you end up studying something in a book allows you to translate that into real life and make a positive impact on patient care. And I think that's probably the most rewarding aspect of medicine for me.
Fantastic. And now to Julie, do you have a mentoring program, and how does that kind of system work?
Yeah, so there is a mentoring program run by the faculty, I think, that links senior and junior students. I'm not too familiar with it, but there is definitely a student-run mentoring program. It's called Momentum, which kind of runs by the same idea. So I personally found it really useful because as a first and second year, straight out of high school, I had no idea what uni was going to be like. And I had no clue what clinical years was going to be like either. So having that fourth or fifth year student who you could catch up with, talk about their experience and also possibly get resources off as well, I found that really helpful in, trying to see what uni life was going to be like and what medicine was going to be like.
Yeah, that sounds really good to be able to connect with different year levels. Sounds really rewarding. Now, this is for both Julie and Evan. What's the student experience like currently, in particular with the remote learning? Perhaps, Evan, could we hear from you first?
Sure. So currently I am on my general practice placement. So that involves Monday and Wednesday we have teaching days. So that's 9 to 5. That's a mixture of lectures that are given through Zoom, but also tutorials that are done through Zoom. In terms of the actual experience, in terms of learning, I found it difficult just because I'm not someone that as well when I'm left to my own devices because I procrastinate a lot. I'm like everyone else, sure. But then again, it's been really great to see the effort that teachers have gone to as well to kind of accommodate our learning. Like I said, it has been hard, but it's not just us that are affected. It's every other student and teacher as well. But it's been great. I've definitely learnt a lot. It's definitely been hard not having placements because it's obviously one thing to learn from a book and then one thing to see it in real life. But in terms of my learning, I definitely think that all effort definitely has been made to make sure that we still get the best opportunity to learn.
That's really fantastic. Julie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I think faculty has been really great during COVID. They've tried to at least keep us fourth years and fifth years on placement. So for example, I'm on my women's health rotation at the moment, and thankfully they've allowed us to go back to hospital around 2 to 3 days a week. And so we are able to really see the acute patients. And, I myself as well as I'm a person who is able to learn on the words and able to learn when I actually see things instead of out of a book. So I found that really helpful.
That's fantastic. Now, Reed, we have a question coming in. What's the ratio like between practical work and theory for biomed, especially in the early years, so this year and last year?
I think it's definitely a great balance, in terms, so usually you'd have lectures and then you'd have labs and workshops and tutorials, one of those with it. And I think it's very practical driven, especially the Monash University recently built the biomedical learning and teaching building with state-of-the-art labs. And I was part of the one of the first cohorts that got to use it. And so I think it's definitely a great ratio. I think initially you start off with quite basic lab skills and science communication skills. I think that's a very important theme that's developed throughout biomed, that you can study and learn, but you can also you can sort of communicate what you know. So obviously the pandemic has altered the way of teaching quite a bit, but other than that, I think it's very lab focused as well.
That's good, having a bit of a mix between lab and theory works. Now, this is a question for everyone, but perhaps we might start with you, Julie. What are the contact hours like in first year medicine through the direct entry route?
So the contact hours are a bit heavier than most courses. Usually it's around 4 days a week. And you may, some days you may have classes for like 5 hours. Some days you start at 8 and end at 7 with breaks in between. So it's really variable, but I think it's normally around 4 days a week and usually around 5 hours of classes.
Yeah, fantastic. And Evan, how is it through the graduate entry route?
Yep. So for the graduate entry week, it is 5 days a week. So generally 8:39 till 5 to 6, some days 7, and then once a week on a Thursday, you do go back to Clayton. During that week, you do 8 to 5. So on that day, you do 4.5 hours of anatomy, and then 4.5 hours of histology, and then lectures. And then as well, like I said, once a week, you do have your placement as well in a hospital. Another thing I should talk about as well, just quickly, is your career-based placement. So like for me, I did my career-based placement in a primary school in rural Victoria, and got to be a teacher for a day, a fortnight. That was really great as well. So this placement kind of really works on integrating you into community and developing communication skills and empathy, but completely removed from medicine. So this is also great.
Yeah, that's really great. And Reed, how have you found the contact hours?
Yeah, definitely. I think it sort of fluctuates between semesters. So you might have a semester where you can get away with sort of only coming to campus 3 days a week, even less if you're only watching pre-recorded lectures instead of attending them. And some semesters you have to come 4, maybe 5 days a week. So I think it really depends on sort of how you timetable and how you best study. So for students who like to sort of spread out their study, they might need to come to campus on more days, while some students choose to sort of fit all their classes into like blocks on a few days so they can spend the rest of the week sort of catching up on work and doing other things. So I think it's very flexible, definitely.
Yeah, that flexibility is really great. Now, Julie, Evan, and Reet, thank you so much for sharing your career insights with us. And that brings us to the end of our session. And to everyone else, thank you for joining us today. I hope this gave you a good taste of what a degree in medicine and biomedical science is like at Monash University. If you think these courses could be for you, make sure to visit our booths and have a chat with our staff. We hope to see you again on campus soon. Goodbye and take care.